So do you know the whole "Let's Go Brandon" thing?
I didn't know. I didn't know until like today, and you should tell people, even if I did know it, because there probably are.
Actually, Wilson, we should just show people the original. All right, so here's basically what happened. They, in the Talladega Raceway, and this is back on October 2nd. There was a guy named Brandon Brown, who won a race, and he was being interviewed afterwards.
All of our partners. Oh my God, it's just such an unbelievable moment.
Brandon, you also told me, as you can hear the chants from the crowd, "Let's go, Brandon." Brandon, you told me you were going to kind of hang back those first two stages and just watch and learn. What did you learn that helped you there in those closing laps?
Oh my God, it was...
So you get the point. So the crowd is chanting "Fuck Joe Biden." The reporter kind of like nervously talks over the crowd and says, "See, they're chanting 'Let's go, Brandon,'" right?
Was she joking?
And I don't know. It's not clear, but
she didn't really think that they were saying that, did she?
No, I don't think she thought that. But
okay,
to me, she's an innocent in this because look,
she didn't want to say it.
She didn't want to say it, and also she instantly created this meme that like rocketed around the world. So ever since that moment, everybody everywhere has been chanting "Let's go, Brandon," as loudly as possible, because it's like a G-rated stand-in for "Fuck Joe Biden," and part of the joke that it's not profanity, right? So I guess Friday or maybe Saturday, a Southwest Air pilot who was flying from Houston to Albuquerque, I believe, and had just landed, gave one of his pilot speeches to the people in the plane, and this is what he said:
"Clear skies, 77 degrees. Thanks for coming out flying with Southwest Airlines. Welcome aboard. And remember, let's go Brandon." So
that's like the last thing they go, "And remember, let's go Brandon," right? Like it's stupid, right? And I would say, if I were a passenger on that plane, I'd be like, I like my pilot's mute. I don't want to be hearing political messaging really anywhere, frankly. Like, but from a pilot, I definitely not. But whatever, it's like a tiny thing. It's like the tiniest thing in the world. So instantaneously, there was like a media freak out about this, and it's. I think that the first big blow came from former FBI agent turned CNN contributor Asha Rangappa. If we could see her tweet. "As an experiment," she writes, "I'd love for a Southwest Air pilot to say 'Long live ISIS' before taking off. My guess is that the plane would be immediately grounded, the pilot fired, and a statement issued by the airline within a matter of hours." She's like comparing "Let's go, Brandon" to an ISIS war cry. Then we can see that her colleague, Juliette Kayyem, piled on quickly after this. And for those who don't know, Kayyem is another national security official turned CNN analyst. There's a lot of those, by the way. She writes this: "If Southwest Air doesn't do everything, every passenger on that flight has standing to file a complaint with the FAA News, and they should do so. Southwest will then be compelled to investigate or defend him. Have fun with that. No messing around in the air. Bright line rule." Then we had Joe Lockhart from Anderson Cooper's show. Here's what Joe Lockhart has to say: "The fact that Southwest Air has not moved faster with their Brandon pilot indicates a much broader problem. My guess is many, if not most of their pilots are totally okay with it, and the airline is afraid the pilots will walk. Let that sink in." So now we've moved on. We've moved on not just from we have one problem pilot. We're guessing, because they have not yet fired this pilot who muttered this thing when the plane was on the ground already. It's like the State Department in 1947 before McCarthy got hold of them, right? Like it's just teeming with Brandonists.
Yeah.
Right. So they've got an infestation on their hands, right?
Let that sink in.
Let that sink in. Okay, so how did this become a story?
Brandonists are flying around in the sky.
This became a story because who was on that plane? It turned out an AP reporter named Colleen Long was on the plane. And what was she writing on the plane? A story. She was writing a story how "Let's Go Brandon" became code for insulting Joe Biden.
Wow.
Yeah. So
what are the odds?
What
Maybe
are the odds of that,
fake.
right?
Maybe this is fake, false flag.
Yeah, exactly. So then she writes the feeling when you're trying to go on vacation and then the pilot says the very thing you're working on over the loudspeaker, and you have to try to get him to comment, but then almost get removed from the plane. So
why did she almost get removed from the plane?
Because she tried to go into the cockpit. It's
who's the terrorist
hilarious.
now? Who's the terrorist now?
Right. So this is a hilarious media story. She gets up, she bolts towards the front of the plane and wants a quote. So she's like trying to get into the cockpit, and then this became a whole brouhaha online because people were like, see, like they
right.
showed prejudice against this, decent, hardworking reporter who was only trying to do the right thing, and yet they're still employing this Brandonist, who's being protected by the ring of silence or whatever. I don't know. I just thought we could talk about this a little bit because part of all of this,
and then then it became a meta thing, right? Because then you got into a fight about it online.
Yeah, I wrote a little thing basically saying, because there were people who were piling on. This "Let's Go Brandon" thing has had already attracted the consternation of lots of people in media over the course of the last few weeks or so, because we had people like chanting it in stadiums. There's a rap song that made it to number one on some chart. I forget what it was. And people were mad about that. Washington Post ran a piece about the lack of civility and like the vulgarity of it all. And so I just I wrote a piece yesterday basically saying, like, does anyone remember Robert De Niro saying "fuck Trump" at the Tony Awards?
Oh,
or
right,
Samantha Bee calling Ivanka a feckless C word? And
right.
This is the G-rated version of, like, part of the joke. Part of the reason these people are chanting "Let's Go Brandon" is exactly because they're pissed about how accepted all the "fuck Trump" and everything stuff was. So they're kind of like, they're tweaking everybody with this thing.
Right.
And like the media people don't get it. And I don't know. I just thought the whole thing was funny. And what do you think? I'm curious.
Hello, thank you so much for listening to and watching Useful Idiots. For full episodes and extended interviews, please subscribe at usefulidiots.substack.com. You can subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com/usefulidiots for clips, live streams, and full episodes. Also, subscribe to us wherever you find your podcast. Follow us on Twitter at UsefulIdiotPod and use the hashtag UsefulIdiotsPod. Join us Mondays at 10 a.m. for the Useful Idiots Monday Morning Show, where we discuss the Sunday morning news shows so you don't have to watch them.